we have this perception of being the least corrupt country in the world, but you've already given this example potentially where the insurance sector could be having an influence. How do we maintain trust in that data or that information coming up to you? Because nobody wants more ministers. You know, we all know that's politically not good. We also want competent people leading these things, and so that means the good people get multiple portfolios and blah, blah, blah. But how do we trust that data then?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and we sometimes underrate our public service, and a little bit of politics. Public service is under attack. Let's have less public servants, and I absolutely understand we need the most effective and efficient public service we can have. Everyone agrees with at least that principle, but the ministers have a number of roles, and one is values. It's kind of political direction. We're going to do these reforms, but it's also value set. And I guess when I came into Minister of Commerce and Consumer Affairs, one of the first meetings, which was really about, well, what's the kind of settings, what's the ministerial settings? So my only question is how we can make life better for consumers in the consumer portfolio, right? Because that's really where I come from in terms of my value set. Now, in terms of the officials, I was very impressed as to how they were able to kind of, through an iterative process, but understand exactly what I meant by that and understand where the balance was. Because obviously I don't want an economy that's failing in a kind of Venezuelan way to give cheap petrol to the citizens. You want an economy that works at the same time. And those kinds of discussions were really important. And I do think that in terms of the Public Service Commission, what it does, the appointments that are made to the chief executive positions, and I found the kind of the apolitical nature of the public service sometimes frustrating. When they would see conflicts of interest, which I simply didn't believe existed, but they would very much stand up to me and say, no, we're not going down that road because in our view, this, that, and the next thing. And that ability to stand up to ministers, which is really important, is probably one of the really important safeguards. And I guess it was also up to me to make sure, that what they were doing, right down to the bottom, was balanced. Because if a minister came in and, the minister, Associate Justice Minister responsible for firearms, I'll be perfectly honest, is a really good example of this. So that's Nicole McKee. She's reforming firearms law, and she consults heavily with gun owners, rifle rangers, and gun collectors. She does not consult a great deal with anyone else. And if you go and read, that is political, but it's entirely accurate. And if you go and read the regulatory impact statements written by her own officials, they criticise her for that. And that is a great, not just that, but it's fantastic that we've got officials which will say, the minister is going to do this, that, and the next thing. We advised this, and we think the process is fallen short in these ways. Because when you're a minister, you can still do it because you run the government, but you have to accept the criticism that will come from the shortcuts that you make.